Hello and welcome to Boomer Bust NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We're just coming out of a busy week 14 and we're looking ahead towards week 15 now. It's been a huge week for all fantasy managers around the league, and tonight I'm joined by the best. I've got Shug on one side and Roberto on the other. We'll come to you guys in 2 seconds, guys, but we're going to start right at the top of the show, and the big news this week is the injury to Deebo Samuel. Roberto, I'll come to you first with this. How big a blow is this to not only fantasy owners going into playoffs who have Deebo Samuel, but the 49ers too?
It's a massive, massive loss. I seen that Jerry Rice tweeted something along the lines of stop putting our best players through the middle. Deebo Samuel's a wide receiver. They're obviously struggling at the run. Well, they're not struggling at the running back position, but they've got C-Mac there, but that's really about it. So they're putting him in these positions where he's running straight up the middle, and then he's getting an injury. The good news is, though, it's not as serious as originally we thought. It's just a high ankle sprain, confirmed nothing's broken. Curious to see how long he'll be out for, but massive, massive misses if he's going to be out for weeks anyway.
Yeah, high ankle sprains tend to be 4 to 6 weeks. In terms of the 49ers, is it me, Shug, or can they just not go a week without having a serious injury to a big player?
Horrible. I want to say luck, but as Roberto said, these things sometimes aren't always luck.
Do you know who you reminded me of there? Seeing Home Alone when they're on the plane and the uncle's just leaning across the seat and he's like, horrible. Sorry, on you go, mate. I had to get that in.
Now I'm thinking of Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank. Carry on, Uncle Frank.
Easy on the foods, pal.
The rubber sheets are packed. Oh, we're on season.
I forgot what we were talking about there. I think they have been majorly, as I said, you put it down to luck, but there could be some sort of reason why they're getting these injuries and this bad luck, but it is another huge blow for them. And I mean, it does now, that offense really relies on CMC, Kittle, Ayuk, really.
Mm-hmm.
Those three, it's just, I'm glad that because it becomes a CMC show, it continues to become all about him. But they've been so unlucky. But even when they're not getting injuries, it seems as if every week they talk about who will play, who won't play for them. Mm-hmm. CMC every week says questionable under him. Every week you're wondering at the last minute if he's playing.
Not remember when he signed with the 49ers and it was like, I go and take a leak and they say I'm on the injury report. But no, you named a few players there like CMC, and we'll get to him later about how good he was yesterday. He looked like the CMC of old. But Roberto, you could pretty much say at this point in the season, considering that trade deadlines have passed and that waivers are drying up, that Deebo is irreplaceable. But what players, like, you're going to have to bring someone in because his fantasy season's over in that regard. What players have you got your eye on?
The first one that I definitely think really stood out last night, which was a shock to me and probably absolutely everyone, was JERICK McKinnon for the Chiefs. Last night, just under 32.5 points. He only rushed for 6 times for 22 yards, but he had 9 receptions for 7 catches for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was only rostered in 15% of leagues, so he's probably going to be available out there. Is he someone that can be consistent week in, week out for the remainder of the season? With the pass catching stats, I would jump all over JERICK McKinnon, definitely.
I've got to agree with you there because all the talk at the Chiefs was it's Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's job, and then he sort of drifted away, and then it's Isaiah Pacheco, and now it's JERICK McKinnon, and he seems to be the only one out of the 3 of them that's grabbed it with both hands, and that score last night was outstanding. The Chiefs are just blockbuster to watch. I could sit and watch them every single week. The way they play, and Patrick Mahomes just, unbelievable. But Shug, anyone else you like the look of this week?
J.K. Dobbins could be a good shout. Had a fine performance. He's looking at him obviously just coming back from injury, so it's probably, or just coming back into it. He seems to be, there's positive signs that he'll start picking up a lot of points towards the end of the season. Mm-hmm. He might not have been picked up in your league just because he's been out for so long, but I'd say he's maybe one that's worth a pickup.
I know. And can I do a wee bit of crying here, right? My injury luck in fantasy football is beyond a joke. And no wonder you're laughing, Roberto, because it fell in your favour this week.
Yeah.
Probably set you up nicely, and like I say, it couldn't have happened to a better guy. But coming into this week, Lamar Jackson, out. Kenneth Walker, out. 2 huge players already. Jacoby Myers, out. Deebo Samuel, questionable with a quad injury, now out for my fantasy season. Cortland Sutton, already out. Coming into the last game, I hung in there. There was 3 points between us, Roberto, and it came down to, this was a great game. Jeff Wilson versus Raheem Mostert. You having Mostert, me having Wilson. They're both of them horrible games, right? I wake up this morning to read that Jeff Wilson left the game with a hip injury in the second quarter, and I finished the game beat by 3 points, and I'm now fighting for relegation in the league. I am... Oh, cry me a river, man.
I thought that was your phone key. See, when you, obviously we're on video just now, when you threw your phone on the couch, I thought cry me a river just started playing.
I mean, I do like Justin Timberlake, but I'm not as big a fan to have that as my ringtone. I know. Before we move on to the next one, also on the injury report for this week, folk have probably noticed, producer David, thoughts and prayers, he's down with the man flu this week, so get well soon, David, if you're listening. The show must go on. Anyway, guys, let's talk about wide receivers and let's talk about the Bengals, right? And I've had my moan about fantasy football, and this is a huge gripe this week of T. Higgins owners. Little to less than half an hour before kickoff, it came out that he tweaked a hamstring during the warm-up, or so they say he did. Shug, huge blow to folk in one of the most important weeks in fantasy football that Higgins was out so late. Now, we've seen this with Brandon Cooks just after trade deadline. We've seen it with Alvin Kamara in the London games. Do you think this is something that there should be allowances made for in like fantasy football leagues? This coming from the commissioner of our league.
Aye, it's a hard one because sometimes it is your luck. I mean, you look at other games in fantasy, there's no real kind of special rules made for it. You literally have to check your team right up until kick-off and make those changes. It is hard because what if you're doing something on a Sunday, you're not checking, you've set your team up. It is late notice, but in my opinion, there's no real provision that should be made. It is sometimes your luck. You need to just check your team right up until kick-off and make those changes. I don't really see what's fair that you could throw in otherwise. I think it's just the beauty of the game, in my opinion. Don't know what you guys think.
I thought that maybe you could bring something into play, like if they didn't play, then your next highest scoring player, like the Fantasy Premier League, would automatically go on. But Higgins played one snap. So he played one snap and then that was him. He didn't play any for the rest of the game.
And did he actually? I didn't even know he played a snap. Oh my God.
And then that was him done. So listen, you're starting Higgins 100 times out of 100, projected something like, 16, 17 points. One snap and he's off, and then that's you're gone.
I think it is the beauty of the game, though.
Yeah,
I think it can happen. It goes your way, it goes against you.
I'll tell you, I'm surprised he's not in my team.
I know.
But it's sticking with you, Roberto. Tyler Boyd also came out of that game with a finger injury. It looks like he's going to be missing for a few weeks. If Higgins has just tweaked a hamstring there, like that's not a quick turnaround. Is there a next man up for the Bengals, or if you're a Samaje Perine owner, or he's available in your leagues, which I would be shocked. Maybe guys dropped him, considering Mixon come back. Are you riding the Perine train?
I would definitely ride the Perine train. I also think it was good timing for the Bengals that Jamar Chase just came back, Mixon just came back, so 2 out, 2 in, and 2 unbelievable players. But Perine, again, last night, you've got Mixon key, and you put in a message into our chat in capital letters, fuck off, Perine, because he got a touchdown, and in that situation, when you're in the red zone, you expect it to go to Mixon, but Perine's been phenomenal the last 6 weeks. And you'd be silly to drop him.
He is. When you talk about RB2s, I look around the league and you talk about guys like Tony Pollard, like I don't say Perine's as good as him, but as far as RB2s go, that could comfortably fill it in an RB1 at any other team, like Perine is that guy. But Shug, Roberto mentioned the guy there, Jamar Chase. Like, his stock was already through the roof. Does this put it through the roof even more, or are you looking at other guys in that team that maybe could plug a hole? Because you always look at that sort of the three of them, Boyd, Higgins, and Chase. There's not really anybody outside of that carries fantasy value, is there?
I think the value of those three goes up. They rely on those three. The other one I think was Irvin. That's the other one that's an option.
Yeah.
There. But I wouldn't be rushing him at a team. I don't think he's going to be a big player in there. I don't think he's going to get you a lot of points. I don't think he's reliable. He'll get the action in there. So I think those three, the value goes up for me. Nobody really else on the outskirts.
Yeah. And we'll move on to another guy that seemed to get the headlines, and he has been injured, and believe it or not, right, and this is what happens when, I'm going to blow my own trumpet here, this is what happens when you're a good fantasy manager and plan ahead, right? So obviously I had Lamar Jackson, brought in Jared Goff this week, thought ahead, Mike White next week, the week after, not a problem, goes out the game, rib injury, comes back into the game, back out the game, gets sent to a hospital afterwards in an ambulance for an x-ray on his ribs. So they say that was a precaution, right? Now, I know a lot of people like myself would have picked up a lot of tips online to say, pick up Mike White. His matchups in week 15 and 16, going into that sort of playoff season in your fantasy league, are very, very favourable. Now, Shug, there might be a case that he's out now and it's Joe Flacco comes in. Do you see him as a fantasy replacement for Mike White, or are you looking elsewhere on this one?
I'm probably looking elsewhere, to be honest with you. I don't know what you've got left out there, to be honest. I think it obviously varies from league to league. No, I think, as I said to you, I thought Goff was a smart pickup for you. I thought Brock Purdy came in and done okay as well. I don't know what his points were at the weekend.
I've got it for later. We'll get to that.
I think guys like him are decent options. I don't think Flacco, not for me, to be honest with you. But as I said, it varies around the options. It's quarterbacks that have been hard to come by, but somebody like Brock Purdy, if it's still available, I would pick him up. Be sure they can be reliable.
I cannot believe there's a guy called Brock Purdy in the league, and you've not come up with a nickname for him yet. Roberto, talk to me about quarterbacks. Anyone you're liking for next week, matchup wise? I mean, looking across as well, the Baltimore Ravens, Tyler Huntley injured as well, so the Ravens now move on to QB3, who's Hundley. Does he become an option?
I probably wouldn't take him. I quite like the look. I know I keep saying this week in, week out, of Daniel Jones's matchup next week against the Commanders. I think Daniel Jones over the last 4 or 5 weeks has been zipping the ball around really well. His completion percentage has increased by quite some margin. So he's playing well. And even like yesterday, they got completely blown out by the Eagles. Like, they were phenomenal yesterday, Eagles. But Daniel Jones still got something like 20 fantasy points. So to get an absolute doing and still get that against the best team in the league, coming up against the Commanders is a favourable matchup. But I've got some good news for you, Key. Literally just before I came on the podcast, checking in on Mike White, because I'm monitoring very closely for Garrett Wilson's sake. He is day-to-day with a rib injury, but Robert Saleh expects him to play this weekend. So that is good news.
Thank God for that. Right as my fantasy hopes are over.
Not true. As I trust him.
You're in a relegation dogfight.
Right. This is how close our league are. For any listeners that aren't in our league, which there is a few, I was third, literally week 10, and now I'm 10th and just lost another game. The bottom three, as we've been saying, go down in our league, and I'm very much in that mix. But it's a six-team relegation fight. Hopefully I can finish, and I'm now aiming. How bad has this got? I'm now aiming for 7th or 8th. It's a shocking state of events. But no, Shug, another worrying scene yesterday. Russell Wilson concussed completely out of it, took a hit, and do you know something? I thought he was playing well. Right up until this point, there was flashes of that old Russell Wilson. Yeah. There was also flashes of the 2022 Russell Wilson, but we'll stick with the positives here. Massive concussion for him. I don't know if it's too impactful in fantasy football, given how poor he's been. A lot of people might have dropped him, but in that sense, are we now looking at the Broncos to replace him, come in, or is there still a chance he'll play next week? Do you think?
I think there is a chance he'll play next week, and I think it is a shame, as you said. He got flashes of what he could produce, what he's produced in the past at the weekend there. So for these things, it always seems precautionary. I think there's a good chance he'll play. As you said, not particularly relevant. I don't know anybody that's really relied on him in our league anyway that's picked him up or has had him in there. But I would say there's still a chance he'll play.
Yeah. So now if he doesn't play, and we talk about fantasy relevance, they're up against the Cardinals in week 15.
Yep.
For me, and I don't know your opinion on this, are you now looking to the Cardinals' defence? Because they've now got, I think it's a rookie quarterback they've got coming in. I'll check this out just now, the Broncos. Do the Cardinals' defence, the stock goes through the roof?
Yeah, I suppose so. I've not been wanting to chop and change my defence a lot during the season. I've generally struggled to it. I found the top ones I've been taking, and it's hard to kind of chop and change. But Cardinals could be a great shout.
Yeah. Brett Rippon is the stand-in quarterback there, which we all know he stood in as well, and previously in the season, and he wasn't great. So the Ripper. Now, for me, I'm all over the Cardinals' defence. I'm going to look to bring them in. I took a wee chance with the Raiders' defence on Thursday night, like I explained. It didn't really come off for me, but it was looking good until that long drive towards the end with Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker Mayfield, according to the media and social media just now, is like, he is fire. I just don't know fantasy-wise. I just don't know. Well fired. No. I'm surprised I'm not all over that, Shug. But guys, before we move on, right, and before we move to our wee break, I'm going to give you a wee question here, right? And I don't want the answers right away. And I'm going to say to you, Shug, a man you like, and Dimacong Sue revealed on Twitter his secret of his night before game ritual that he's been doing for over a decade, okay? And this is what he said on Twitter last night about this, and it had people wondering what it was until he brought it up in the replies. He said, I've had a night before the game ritual I've kept secret for over a decade. I'm convinced it's what's helped me compete at an elite level my entire career, sharing it here for the first time. Now, guys, I'm going to come to you after the break to find out what you guys think this ritual is. And I hope to God you've not seen the tweet. But a wee break, okay? And I want to thank tonight's sponsor, which is manscaped.com. Okay, it's never too early to play holiday music, and it's never too early to start thinking about gifts. Whether it's for your friend or the friends in your pants, you can make this a season to be jolly with Manscaped. Do your little drummer boy a favour and use the Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night in the bedroom. Then add in Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products to have the people thinking, all I want for Christmas is you. Santa cares about his sack, and so should you. Look nice when you get naughty by going to manscaped.com and use the code BOOMERBUST20 for free shipping and 20% off. Roberto, you're a hairy guy. You can be doing with a bit of manscaped.com. What's the code that you need to be using?
BOOMERBUST20. I hope someone gets me a wee stocking filler.
Christmas. I'll give Jane a text. And that means Shug can vouch. The products are first class. They are outstanding, especially the Lawnmower 4.0. So make sure to check them out at manscaped.com and use our code. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code BOOMERBUST20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using the code BOOMERBUST20. Manscaped, get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. So boys, asked you before the break, and Dimacon Sue, I've done quite well with that, revealed on Twitter last night that the pre-game ritual he has used the night before his games for the past decade. Shug, I'll come to you first. What do you think it is?
I'm going to go with some sort of bubble bath with a bit of lavender in it.
Yeah, does he seem the type of guy?
And by the way, I'm not knocking that because I do like a bubble bath myself.
Don't tell me you've got like one of these bath bomb gift sets. Maybe that's something we could recommend to Manscaped. The next one, like man bath bombs.
I'm a Epsom salts type of guy.
Oh aye.
I know, brilliant.
I know. I took you for 35, but yeah, I'm now taking you for about 75.
What knock if you've tried it?
Roberto, what are you thinking?
My mind's going in kind of two ways here. I either think it's going to be something like dirty, or it's going to be something today like pure shite food. Like you hear football players like, oh, before the Super Bowl, whatever, I had a bowl of chicken nuggets and chips. So it might be like he's eating like shite food the night before, like a bowl of chicken nuggets, or he's having like a tam shank or something like that. So
wow, where do we go for here?
Every single week.
Are we both at the same time?
Oh God, man, I've got some editing to do. This is getting left in. Anyway, boys, before we dig any deeper, one of his winds up in the cells. This is what he said. I've had a night before the game ritual. I've kept a secret for over a decade. I'm convinced it's what's helped me compete at an elite level my entire career. Sharing it here with you here first. Go to bed early and get a good night's sleep. You're welcome. Maybe you were right, Roberto. Who knows?
There's definitely something else behind that, man. There's definitely something behind that.
For the latter, nah, absolute legend. I love stuff like that. He had guys guessing all over. I think it got like thousands of replies, and before he actually revealed that. But now we spoke earlier about the sort of guys that have done well for us this week. For me, the guys that get injured and the guys that didn't do so well. And I'm going to come to you first here, Shug, because you already mentioned that. Excuse me, earlier in the show. Talk to me, Christian McCaffrey. You've got him in your team. Stock already sky high. It's just even went to the heavens now that Deebo Samuel's going to be out. For you this week, is he your boom?
Yeah, he's my boom. It was a tough decision because I had one of those weeks where everybody in my team done pretty well, pretty much across the board. Nobody was exceptional even by McCaffrey standards. That's not exceptional levels of points. But everybody done well across the board. I could have looked to like quarterback Cousins, 25 points he produced for me. Tyreek Hill as usual, 24. Guys across there, Zay Jones, 21.70. But CMC just produced us again. And as you said, with the injuries they've got, they rely so heavily on him. His stock keeps going up. I'm just grateful that he avoids injury. As I said, every week I find he's questionable, but he's so important now in fantasy, but he's so important for San Francisco. He's pretty much their hope that their season relies on. And again, he's produced 29.3 points for me. So if you've got him in your team in fantasy, he's the type of guy that can win you the full thing.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, and you mentioned quite often how your team heavily relies on Tyreek Hill and CMC. I know Hill left the game last night with an ankle injury. I didn't stay up late and watch it. Did he come back in? Do you guys know? I should have read up on this.
I don't know if he did.
I don't think he came back in.
But that's one.
He's not listed as questionable or anything just now.
So
yeah,
would have been fine.
One to keep an eye on. But Roberto, talk to me. You're going to make me cry here, considering you've beat me and put me in the relegation. But
yeah,
talk to me. Who lit it up for you this week?
Similar to Shug, I had a few players that really stood out for me, but one guy who just seems to do it every single week for me, the most exciting wide receiver in the league, and it's Justin Jefferson. So last night he didn't score a touchdown, but he still got 33.3 points. That's without a touchdown, right? So 15 targets, 11 receptions, and it was 223 yards that he went for last night. So listen, JJ, similar to C-Mac, he is a league winner for you. If you've got him in your team, he's just different gravy, man. He's so good.
Yeah, I just knew coming up against you that, right, that's a guaranteed 25, 30 points every week. Justin Jefferson, that if the guys round about him and your team didn't really score so well, then I might be in with a chance. And there was late in that game where the Vikings were just throwing a drive together. I think there was a minute left. And Kirk Cousins just threw like a 40-yarder. Justin Jefferson's caught it, down by contact. And I just thought, there's 3 or 4 points I could have been doing without. Turns out that's the one that's beat me. Anyway, I'll stop crying, right? But I'm going to stick with that game, Roberto. And my boom for this week was Jared Goff. We spoke about him earlier. I had to bring someone in at quarterback. I know Steve in our league said he would have took him had he given the chance, right? Scored 26.1 fantasy points. I'm a Lamar Jackson owner. Should be a fantasy football rock star, right? Jared Goff's 26.1 points is more fantasy points than Lamar Jackson has scored since week 3, which is unbelievable considering how they both play. But Jared Goff, incredible, and they're really turning around a Detroit Lions season. He had 27 completions from 39 passes, 330 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns, which, who would have said this at the start of the season? The Detroit Lions last year looked like a car crash. They did at parts of this season. Now they look like real playoff contenders, and they're getting their main weapons back. Jameson Williams yesterday, fantastic long touchdown to start the game off. They completely bossed the Vikings all over the field. And for me, Jared Goff just looks like he's enjoying playing football again for the first time since that trade away for the Rams.
Yeah.
So for me, this week, Jared Goff's my boom, and very unlucky that he didn't carry me over the line yesterday.
Yeah, and see as well, just on Jared Goff, I seen that the Lions were talking about that he could be the one that's their future quarterback. Like, that's on the table, just the way that these performances have been. Done it last week again against the Jags, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Week before, he done it against the Bills. Week on week, he's just moving in the right direction. So, great pickup, Keith.
I know. It was there to be had, but my bust also comes from this game, and it's DeAndre Swift, and I think I had him as my start-em last week. Trust me, I've picked up the Shugsy curse. It just didn't happen for him. Maybe they targeted the wide receivers. I know you said it earlier in the show, Roberto, that one of the worst teams in the league are the Vikings against the wide receiver when it comes to fantasy points. DeAndre Swift scored a total of 6.9 fantasy points. Considering that the Lions scored a total of 34 points themselves in this game and he only scores that amount of fantasy points, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth to guys that are pushing for playoff places. Week 14, he had 6 attempts for 21 yards, which you kind of see the game plan of the Lions here, that they were just going to throw the ball all over the Vikings, knowing that they really couldn't defend it. So for me, DeAndre Swift this week is my bust. That's not to say you're going to drop the guy, because he'll be fine. Don't worry about it. But Shug, who for you just completely bombed this week?
Well, I actually went and picked somebody else around the league. My only one that I would say really was a bust was Singletary, and even then, I don't think it's really fair to put him in the bust category, because I'm not relying on him to get me big points every week. He's not a big player. He's a decent one that now and again will produce good points for me, but he was probably my only one that I could stretch and say was a bust. So I decided to look around the league, and one that I'd have been really disappointed in the same game was Stephon Diggs. He's only produced 6.7 points. Really expect more. You look across, he's one of the guys, as I said about CMC, he's one of the guys you should be relying on to get you points most weeks. Previous weeks he's gave well over 20 points, but 6.7 again in a game where, as I said, the Bills dominated. So if I was forced to take somebody from my team, it's Singletary, but across the league, I'm looking at somebody like Diggs.
I know, I don't know about you, but every time it cut to that game on Red Zone, it was horrible. Like, I think there was like no scoring near enough right throughout the start of the game, and the conditions were horrible, and it was just one of the games you knew that you weren't scoring fantasy points. I had Gabe Davis, who's pretty much in the mud to me.
You had to play him.
I know, I had no other choice, and I'm not going to drop him. You just don't know. Like, this show should be named after Gabe Davis. But we'll not dwell on that dick for too long. Roberto, who are you absolutely disgusted with this week in fantasy football?
So I'm disgusted with him, but he did get me the win last night. We mentioned him earlier on the show. So Raheem Mostert is my bust, and it's a shame because we had a really good game lined up, Key, and the Dolphins running backs just now are absolute mints. Like, they're so bad just now. But I don't know if that's necessarily the running back's fault. But Mostert last night, 5.4 points, 11 attempts for only 37 yards and a catch for 7 yards. But the Dolphins just now are running the ball exceptionally low. I mean, last night, I think they ran it under 20 times. I'm sure last week it was like under 10 times or something that they ran the ball. And I understand that the game type might mean that they need to throw the ball, but it seems like they're depending heavily on Tua, and it's not working. They've not won a game since week 12 versus the Texans, and now they've got the Bills this weekend. So I don't know what's happening with the Dolphins just now, but they need to run the ball more.
Yeah, it's a funny time. Shug being a resident Dolphins fan now. Like last night, wee bit of a shock defeat and keeps the Chargers' playoff hopes alive. In terms of that run game, when I tuned into the start of the game, which I maybe watched the first 5-10 minutes, I seen that Mostert was lined up to be the punt returner, and I just thought, okay, I'm doomed here. And I wake up and see he only scored 5 points. I was thinking, I expected so much more there. I really did. But Shug, bit of a blow to the Dolphins, but I think it's a minor hiccup in the road. It's the complete wrong saying, but it doesn't matter, does it? You get what I mean?
Say that, I mean, but they've, as Roberto said, that's a bad run they've been on recently, and it's at the wrong time of season to be hitting that dip. I think it's more than worry. I think it's more than just write it off as a bad week or a bad couple of weeks. I'm really quite concerned about how the rest of the season's working. It did look really, really promising, but if they don't fix things, it could quickly get away from them.
Yeah, that's generally what happens in the NFL. It's stick or twist sometimes. You really need to keep it going, keep your momentum going, or you can get caught in the mud. Just look at the New York Giants. We'll not go into that for obvious reasons, but that's what's happened. Like, started the season like a house on fire, and then that fire's been put out, and we're stumbling our way to the playoffs. Hopefully get a win against the Commanders this weekend. But I'm going to come to you first, Roberto. Give me an honourable mention for your week 14. I thought this was a very good pickup for you, and the reason I've come to you with it because I'm desperate to hear you pronounce this guy's name.
I said I want to apologise in advance if he's ever listening to this podcast and I see his name wrong. I'm sorry, but I think his name is Chigozium Okonkwo. we'll call him Chigo Oko, right? Chigo Oko. It's Chigo thing.
Tight end for the Tennessee Titans. When I seen him in your lineup, I thought that's got Zero Burger written all over it.
Mate, this guy trending up the way. By the way, he's a rookie tight end. He's an absolute 6'3" athletic beast. I think he was top for in the last 4 weeks or something like the most 30 plus catches or something he had. So I picked him up last week in the waivers. Yesterday, 18.5 points, 6 for 6. 45 yards, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. With Treylon Burks being out for the Titans, I thought this was a perfect type of pickups. This guy who is, like I said, week on week trending up the way in terms of points and receptions. This guy's a beast, and I think he will be a beast for the remainder of the season. So he's slowly but surely securing my tight end one position.
It was a clever pickup, and I had mentioned Robert Woods, and I know Shug, you put Woods in, didn't really score as well as you imagined, but any wide receivers in your team that deserve the honourable mention tag for week 14?
Yep, I'm going to say Richie James. As I said, a few options in my team, but I picked him because he was a guy that I picked up last week. Threw him in, I think it was last week I picked him up. Threw him into my starting lineup, and he's produced with 19.1 points, which is very decent. Did get injured, he's now in concussion protocol. So don't know if he'll make next week, but
throw him my way.
Aye. I'll give you another injured player. But 61 receiving yards and a touchdown. Produced the goods. It just shows you can still at this stage pick up things in waivers, which I'm going to need to, because I looked at my bench and there is nothing there, to be honest. I've been praying that Odell Beckham's got a team and he's in there doing nothing. So I really need to pick up something in the waivers that might help me through the last part of the season. But Richie James come in, done the job for me.
Delivered the goods. But I'm going to go an honourable mention. It's a guy we've already spoke about in the show, but I want to take my hat off to him. Brock Purdy, man, Mr. Irrelevant, and being called Mr. Irrelevant. The last pick in the 2022 draft, comes in as QB3 at the 49ers. Put some respect in that guy's name. My God, man. And I was loving the story before the match that his family hadn't been to see him play at the 49ers for obvious reasons yet, but well in advance, like the start of this season when he was drafted with the 49ers, they all requested tickets for this game because he was up against Tom Brady, obviously. And then for him to start the game, it's like a dream come true. Your family to see starting against Tom Brady. And then to completely and absolutely annihilate the Buccaneers as QB1, unbelievable. So Brock Purdy, for me, and in fantasy football terms, scores 21.7 fantasy points, 2 passing touchdowns for 185 yards. Brock Purdy gets this week's honourable mention for me. And sadly, he's gone for an MRI for an oblique injury.
Oh, no.
I know. So the 49ers could be down to QB4, which is Josh Johnson. And do you know something? I don't know if I would be like too harsh on picking him up if I was really struggling for a quarterback, knowing how good that offense is at the 49ers. So, honourable mention for me, Brock Purdy. But, boys, time is marching on, okay? And we're getting to that point in the season where we're starting to look back and things we've said and stuff like that and regret a lot of the things we've said, even in the pre-season. But I'm gonna look for a few hot takes here, and I'm gonna come to you first, Roberto. Give me a hot take for this season.
So my hot take was going to be off the back of your honourable mention, but I didn't realise that he's away for an MRI. So I'll need to reword it a wee bit. If Brock Purdy comes back, the 49ers will win the Super Bowl.
That's a fairy tale story, isn't it? Mr. Irrelevant.
I know, and that was his first start, and to hear that story about his parents to get tickets well in advance, written in the stars. I hope it's nothing serious for his MRI because he was fantastic last night. But if he comes back, the 49ers, with this defenses win titles, and their unreal offense and C-Mac, they will win the Super Bowl. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I like the 49ers. I like that everything goes against them and they still manage to pull things together. A team for me, when things go against them, they seem to pull things together. I can't really believe it. And this is my hot take, that the Baltimore Ravens are the worst 9-4 team that I might have ever seen in my life. And we spoke about this in our chat yesterday, that I was saying, how have they won 9 games? They're always close games. Like, I don't know if you guys can tell me an absolute standout fantasy football player for the Ravens this year. Nobody. Literally nobody. There's been no standouts whatsoever.
Oh, wait. I've got one.
Go.
Justin Tucker, their kicker.
Obviously, he's the greatest kicker of all time.
He's won them so many games this year.
I know. And then you look at that screenshot that's been going about of the games that they were ahead and the opposition came from behind, and you're like, they could have an even better record than 9-4.
Yeah.
For me, I just don't see them as Super Bowl contenders, or I do not have a clue how they're in that position whatsoever. So my hot take is that the Baltimore Ravens really are a poor side with an unbelievable record.
Mm-hmm.
Hope that comes back to bite me. But Shug, throw me a hot take. Give me something controversial.
My hot take is that the Vikings season is going to fall off a cliff. Now, they might stumble in the next couple of weeks, but I think they'll come up short completely in the playoffs. They, on paper, they're not a bad side, right? They've got some good players. They've had some great results this season, but they're so inconsistent. Kirk Cousins, I've got him in a fantasy team, not completely knocking the guy, but he's hardly having a great season. Very inconsistent. Defense, not great at all. They're very up and down. They're very sloppy at times as a team. Took another beating off the Lions, who are really hitting a bit of form now, but I just don't think you can predict them from this team. And I just think when it comes to the big games in the playoffs, the Vikings will come up short.
I've got to agree with you. They rely heavily on Justin Jefferson. Yeah. If anything was ever to happen to Jefferson, you're then looking at KJ Osborne and Adam Thielen, who I don't think are going to win you very much. But they've done well. They've slid under the radar. Do I think they're that good? No. I think it's between the Bills and the Eagles for me. I know I absolutely love the Chiefs this year, but watching them in defence yesterday, they fell apart for a bit and a lot of sloppy stuff. And I think you're right. The Vikings are going to probably like the Tennessee Titans of last year. Like they done well to get that 1 seed and then just fell apart when it counted.
The Vikings, the rest of their games look okay. I think they've got the Bears, the last game of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of other games that you would expect them to win. I think maybe the Colts in there as well. We've got another couple of games that you'd expect to win. So I think their position ending the regular season will be quite deceiving. But then when it comes to crunch time, I just think they'll come up short.
Yeah, they'll nosedive when it comes to Hardware Sunday.
Exactly.
Roberto finishes off. Give me one more hot take.
So I've said a lot of positive things and a lot of negative things about Justin Fields this year, saying that he's obviously going to get Bears and a positive record, which was obviously, I was miles off it with that. But I will say that Justin Fields, based off his previous results, will finish as QB1 for the remaining 4 games of the season. And listen, they don't have an easy matchup. They've got the Eagles, the Bills, the Lions, and the Vikings. So tough lineup, but I reckon that Justin Fields will finish QB1 in the remaining 4 games. That
is a hot take. I like it. I like you putting this in the line. And I wish there was a team called the Tigers so you could say Lions and Tigers and Bears.
Oh my!
But we'll clip these up, right? And then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. But guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Heartbreaker for me in fantasy football, but we dust it off and we go again, and hopefully I beat relegation and you guys get the playoffs. Shug, you've secured your place. Roberto, you look like you're going to get there after a miraculous recovery. At one point you were bottom of the league. You've clawed your way back and hit form, which is good to see. It's good to see because other guys might have gave up. But going to finish this off with a wee game, and we're going to change it up a wee bit with a game of Who Am I? All right. I'm going to read out some previous clubs of the players, who they are, and I'm going to see if you can get them. Okay, so first one up, Who am I? I've played for the Bills, 49ers, Bears, and currently at the Seahawks.
Hicks.
Wrong. So I've played with the Bills, the 49ers, Bears, and I'm currently at the Seahawks.
Currently at the Seahawks.
I could give you a clue.
What position?
Wide receiver.
I can't even think of a Seahawks wide receiver. Lockett, Metcalf.
And you're missing the third. I've played with the Bills, 49ers, Bears, and currently at the Seahawks. He's a wide receiver, and
Goodwin.
he's
Marcus Goodwin.
Well done. 1 point to Roberto. If producer David was here, he'd be getting a ding right now. But sadly, he's in his bed.
You got a dong.
You got a dong. Next one up, boys. I was drafted by the Cardinals. I have played for 2 teams this season, but not the Cardinals.
Jesus.
Shug, I'm looking at you. I was drafted by the Cardinals. I have played for 2 teams this season, not the Cardinals.
I'm trying to think who's transferred.
Okay, so I was drafted by the Cardinals. I have played for the Dolphins and the Broncos.
Oh.
Who am I?
Boom.
No. Boom or bust.
What position is he again?
He's a running back.
Oh my God. Latavius Murray, he was at the Saints. I don't know.
There he is.
Nice.
There he is. Well done. 1 apiece, boys. Setting up nicely. Going into the last question. Okay. This one I think he'll get, so be on the buzzers. I was drafted by the Browns, and I have also played for 2 teams this season, but not the Browns. I was drafted by the Browns. I have also played for 2 teams this season, but not the Browns.
What position?
Oh, Shuggy boy! 2-1 to Shug. Well done, mate. Right on it. See if I gave his position there, you would have got it right away. So I think, Shug, you've saved yourself there. But, boys, it's been an absolute pleasure this week. We've had to move things around and shuffle around because Geppetto couldn't make it, unfortunately. So, Roberto, thank you very much for guesting as ever. And Shug, main man in it, co-host, you look like you're going to fall asleep on the couch there because you're an early nighter like in Dimmakong Sue.
I'm tired, mate.
Early bed for a big performance tomorrow. But no, thank you very much for everyone that's listened. Good night.